Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned high performance coach. When odds are stacked against us, how do we shift and create everything from nothing? How do we level up when we aren't feeling it yet or we've had a big setback? On this podcast, I'll be talking to some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on this planet who, at their worst, learned how to achieve success greater than they ever dreamed possible, leveling up and creating everything from nothing. At just 22 years old, Erin Fall Haskell gave birth to a stillborn baby. She described sitting in a room, staring at that tragedy before her with a complete loss for words. It was in those moments that she wanted to know the purpose of life. Why did this happen? She realized that he, the baby that laid before her, wasn't in his body. She noticed him as a spiritual being. She didn't know this then, but her life was just beginning to truly have meaning. Over the coming years, Erin came to know that what you once triumph over is our soul contract. And it is those contracts mixed with a passion and a strong skill set that allow our authentic selves to flourish. Today, Dr. Erin Fall Haskell, aka Dr. Erin, lives in Los Angeles and is the creator and TV host of Good Morning LaLa Land. She's a doctor of divinity, New Thought minister, international best-selling author, a self-made millionaire, transformational speaker, awarded as Global Peace Leader in 2016 even. Join us today and learn how Dr. Erin continually has leveled up and created everything from nothing. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to share with everyone how you've continually leveled up and created everything from nothing.
I love the whole idea of leveling up. Isn't that kind of our mantra right now?
Yes, it totally is. And when I got to know you, I thought I've got to have you on the show because everything that you do really represents that entire vibe of leveling up. You've done it over and over again. You've continually created everything from nothing, and you stand for so many amazing things. I could not wait to share you today. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for everything you've done. And I know you've touched millions of lives as well. And it's been great to have you on the show and just get to know you. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have so many questions for you, but the first one I've got to open up with and share with everybody is, people look at you, they see you as the CEO of Good Morning LaLa Land. And for those of you who don't know that show, you're definitely missing out. You've got to check that out. You're so creative. You're everywhere. I mean, you can find you and what you've done and all of your goodness everywhere. But what they don't know is that you were not always this amazing. And well, you're probably always this amazing, but you weren't always this well known and successful. Can you take us back a little bit to who you were before all of this?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think it's an important point because we see all the Instagram photos and the filtered and the glam life and it a little delusional for what's reality and what it takes to get to a place of impacting a lot of people. So for me, my journey really was when I was 22 years old. I had a stillborn. I was 9 months pregnant and I was very young and basically realized that my baby had stopped moving in my belly. And
every mother's worst nightmare.
Right. Yeah, it was a nightmare. And I went and I had to, give birth to his body. And the next day I went to the mortician's house alone. I was kind of a little cuckoo because back then they had us take pictures of the dead baby after you gave birth to him, bathe your dead baby and go home without your dead baby. So the next day I woke up and I was just kind of out of it. And I thought, I didn't get the right pictures with my baby. That's how out of it I was. So I went down alone and the mortician was like, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. But, your baby's been in formaldehyde for 24 hours and, you're welcome to, take some time or whatever." So he set up this room and I went in and it was just me alone in this really dark room. It was literally a scene out of the movie. And I just had this moment where I was like, how could life be so hard? And I just, my life was not an easy life anyway. And then it just sent me on this track of like, I just have to figure out my own, who I am and what our spiritual nature is. I just realized in that moment that my baby wasn't there. He's not his body. We're not our bodies. And it just sent me on this big spiritual track. And so I think the point is that this doesn't always look pretty. People are out there doing amazing work. And generally it's not because they, necessarily want to have 1 million followers. It's because they truly love what they're doing and they're committed to their message and they're committed to the impact.
No, my gosh. First of all, that's such a huge story right in itself right there. I mean, first of all, you're still a baby yourself at 22. I mean, you're still very young. What a scary, horrible thing to go through. And you said you formed this, you believe that like, why does life have to be this hard? What was that coming from? Was it this one episode? Was there other stuff that led up to that? And was anybody there with you helping you through this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I grew up in California. It was kind of a dysfunctional childhood. My parents got divorced. My dad went off and had another family. My mom was young and didn't know what she was doing. It was not like, oh, poor me. I mean, it's not that untypical of a story. But I think that that's the point, is that no one had any foundation. We didn't have any like foundations of what life's about. I remember as a little girl asking, what are we doing here? And no one could answer me. And I was like, why? I don't understand this, And then I was date raped in high school and bulimia from 17 to 20. And I think it wasn't that unusual of a story. I realize now that everybody has an incredible story, and we're here for the hero's journey. We're here to overcome our darkest hour and transcend it and transform it into something that is our greatest passion and purpose of why we're here. That's my opinion. But
yeah. No, Erin, you just said that you just rushed over those like a matter of fact, like I was date raped in high school. I was bulimia. Like that's just an everyday thing. And it's very much not like, did this take you, I'm assuming, years to be able to talk about it like that? Or was this something that you really struggled with? Because those are some pretty heavy things right in their own selves.
Yeah, no, it was, I never planned on being a doctor of divinity. It was never like, I'm going to be this when I grow up. It was like seeking my own healing, my own help, I became obsessed with understanding what was going on. I became obsessed with expanding consciousness. I became obsessed with the different transformation modalities and processes. And in that, of course, you transform. I don't have any more sadness around having a stillborn. It was the greatest blessing of my life because it gave me my awakening. It gave me a life beyond my wildest dreams. And that's the whole process of taking people to birthing their truth, to birthing their purpose and calling, to birthing that which they have to do that nobody else has to do on this planet.
Gosh, it's so amazing that you just said that, because you said no more sadness. And I've yet to interview somebody that had a tragedy happen that didn't say that they saw a blessing in it later, which is so unbelievable, because in the moment, I'm sure that's not what's going on through someone's mind when they're going through that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shift. And taking people through, I think a majority of people that seek help, they want to find their purpose and calling. They want to heal from whatever it is they want to heal, but they also want to find their purpose. And that's one of the greatest things that people are seeking, especially in a time where there's not a lot of stability. So they want to have that reason, that why for them. And so the process is, it's really a formula, and maybe it's different for some people. Every single person I've worked with, it's the same formula. And the formula is, what you have had triumph over, plus your passions, plus your skill set equals your purpose.
Wait, say this again, because that's so important. So what you had triumphed over, that's the sort of that
triumph. Like, put it this way. No one wants to learn fitness from somebody who never struggled with weight, who never struggled with trying to do it, right? No one wants to learn about money from somebody who was born into, multi-million, heir family. So what you have had trials and triumph over is your greatest gift. It's like a soul contract. And then your passion. So what you truly desire to do within that field. And then your skill set. Of course, you've got to develop a skill set.
Gosh, no one's ever explained it to me this eloquently. I love this. And loving that term soul contract. That's really why, almost like you've chosen this before. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, you choose it. And a lot of it has to do with your past life things. You can call it your DNA. It doesn't really matter. But there's suffering in you that lives in you, that is like a puppet strings behind, the scenes that's ruling your life. We see people that no matter what they do, they just struggle in certain areas, and you can't really explain it. It's because it's from the DNA, it's from past lives. So we really want to look at whether you want to just look at this lifetime or past lifetimes, whatever goes on of the suffering. And really it's yours to do to complete that for yourself, so that you can leave your legacy.
Wow. Now, how did you figure all this out? I mean, that's it. Really an interesting perspective. And you summed up a lot of stuff that I've heard tidbits about, but you just made it so eloquent.
Thing that I love about metaphysics is it just makes sense. The universal law in metaphysics, it adds up. It's in alignment with even physics and science and everything else. And then so for me, when I'd been seeking and seeking and seeking, it wasn't until, of course, you break through the veil through meditation, and that's very important to experience it. But there's also science of mind, there's the law, there's dynamics, there's how we created this into existence, there's gravity, there's things. And so there is just this human nature that we have, and it's really simple. You break it down, it's very simple, actually.
So this all started hitting you after you've been through all this stuff in your life, and then you have the stillborn and you're sitting there with that experience, which I can't even imagine. You're sitting in that room with the baby and the formaldehyde. Like, I'm imagining it, but gosh, how horrible that must have felt. So this is starting to hit you then. Is this, you start on your journey now to do this, or were you sort of getting downloads?
Time ago. Yeah. I mean, this is, I started seeking and going, I was definitely anti-religion. So I didn't want to go to religion. So I started just seeking all the books, all the seminars, all the conferences, miscellaneous thing. I started meditating because I thought, well, that's one thing that all the great minds have spoken of. So I just started doing everything. And what happened, and that was a long time ago. It wasn't like yoga studios were all over the place like they are today. And everyone talking about the universe like it's your BFF. It was very different. So what happened is I just started going down the track, and I studied many different modalities. I studied everything from shamanism, not medicine, but traditional shamanism. I studied subconscious work, Greek oracle processes, Socrates method. And the thing is that the truth is the truth. You can start seeing the commonality within all the work. And so that's why I got my doctorate in, because like you start distilling down all of it. And it's just truth. It's simple. There's ultimate truths and there's relative truths. So each person has a relative truth, what they're here for.
So when you say the truth is the truth, so do you say that you see that across, like, whether somebody is looking at religion or the universe or whatever it is they're looking at, it's that same common truth?
Well, there's truth as in the physics of the universe. For example, energy cannot be destroyed. We are immortal. We're not these bodies. There's physics. Okay, those are truths. Those are ultimate truths. Relative truths is like what's true for you. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? What are your skills? What are your talents? And your truth, your relative truth changes. It's not set in stone. It's a perspective, just like Einstein, with the law of relativity. That's truth. That's relative truth.
Got it. Okay. So when you started exploring this, like you said, it wasn't like a yoga studio and meditation on every corner. There was not, this was new. What was going on with friends and family when you start looking at this?
Oh my gosh, they thought I was going crazy. Like I was like, I started meditating and I started channeling and all these truths stream through. And because when you open up and when you expand your consciousness, it's kind of like imagine that the sun is above you and it's your highest consciousness. It's all knowing, whatever. And it's like the clouds are in between you and the sun. And so when you start meditating, you start expanding your consciousness, those clouds start dissipating and you start like having literally streaming in truth into your consciousness. So I changed like dramatically who I am, how I speak, like it just changes. You morph into your higher self and people around you are like, what is going on? I remember having a conversation with my mom and she did not understand. And she was really freaked out about the whole spirituality thing because my father had left to go seek his spirituality. So she felt like I was going to abandon her. And so it took her some time to really accept. And I always call it like coming out of a spiritual closet,
Yeah. And I've seen lots of people do, not maybe to your level, but some form of this, usually after a tragedy or after they're trying to figure out. So they have this awakening about that. So how did you deal with that? Because if your mom's thinking or your friends are thinking, what's going on with her? She's going crazy or what? Did you have to argue that? Did you just stay committed to what you were doing?
I believe it's kind of like, I believe that when you go through a true awakening, sometimes you need to go a little extreme. You kind of go way out there. And then there's a point in time where you have to choose, are you going to be somebody who's just going to literally channel from the ethereal, or are you going to be somebody that's going to come back into this world fully with 2 feet on the ground and really transform and transcend here. And I chose here. So, here I am, with Good Morning LaLa Land and creating, very tangible things here in the world. And so now they just accept, they kind of like looked at me weird for a little bit, but they, I just stayed my course and everyone, as long as I wasn't doing any harm or hurting anyone. You know.
So you start on this journey and you're talking like 20 years now, correct? Like when you start on this journey, how long did it?
24 years.
24 years. Wow.
Getting up there,
So what did you end up getting your doctorate in and how did you become, where did this title I love this title. I mean, I've never heard anybody mention anything like this, Doctor of Divinity. Where did that come from?
It's through Emerson Theological and Centers for Spiritual Living. So you become a spiritual practitioner first, which is like a 3-year program. Then you become a minister for a couple more years, and then you get your doctorate for 5 years.
Got it. Wow.
So it's all, it's a real title, Doctor of Divinity. I know I'd never heard of it. I was like, when I heard of it, I was like, oh, I don't care what it takes. That's
I mean, I love it. I thought that was your creative title, but that's interesting that there's an actual doctrine in this. That's amazing.
Yeah, right.
So being in that work over the last 24 years, my gosh, how has that shifted like who you've become, and how has that shifted in the relationships that you have around you?
Sure. Well, to know the truth and live the truth are two very different things. Let's just get that straight. I'm still human. I still have my issues. I still have whatever. But I've come a long way, baby, as I said. So I think that for me, it's about living powerfully like all of us. If we're leveling up, right? What does that look like? And that's going to look different for each person, what they value. Each person has a different value system. So for me, I truly value always evolving and expanding. I value growth. I value creating things. So for me, my life looks like every day I get up and I create like you can't believe. I get up at usually like 4 or 5 in the morning. I create Good Morning LaLa Land. I come back. I have one-on-one clients. I'm creating, podcast to next book to like this last weekend I was recording an EP for transmissions, so you name it. I mean, I just love to create. I love adventuring and creating the next thing. But I think for most people, when you get into the subconscious work, it's about it's funny because I was reading your stuff and you said the transformational triangle, and I use that term a lot. It's
Wow.
such a brilliant thing in that it's very different than yours. And I love that you have this platform that teaches people steps every day, because I think it's so important as leaders that we take them through steps that they can remember and have those steps every day. And so for me, it's really about birthing someone's truth, getting them back to their true identity, releasing the limiting beliefs, releasing the trauma. And then next is birthing their individual unique truth. What works for them and what doesn't work for them? What do they value? And then number 3 is birthing their purpose and calling. So that's really, if you want to live your truth, you've got to really birth those 3 things: your true identity, your unique truth, and your purpose and calling.
So really people's authentic selves.
Yeah, totally.
You're on a mission to get them to that. So, what's interesting and what I'm hearing, and I wonder if others listening are hearing this, that like sometimes when you look at somebody that's so driven and you feel like, God, how they come up with all these ideas, they're doing all these amazing things, but then you meet them and you realize they're not tired, they're truly living the work. Because I feel that when you really are in your calling and purpose, like you can't stop the ideas because you're called to get it out there. And that's my experience with you, is that you keep going because there's so much more for you to get out there.
Yeah, it's not like you have to try and come up with content. Like, it comes out of you and you're like, I got to like get this on paper. Like, it's just like, you can't deny it. It's just one of those things.
So would you say that somebody that is struggling with, I don't know what to do, what is it, because they're just not in their purpose right now?
I get that question a lot. They go, well, I don't know. I haven't necessarily had a triumph. I don't know what I'm passionate about. I don't know what my skills are yet. It's like, that's great. That's why it's like going when you first go to college. When you first go to college, you don't have your major. You go and you take a bunch of different courses and you go check it out and you see what speaks to you and doesn't, and you get, you get a general education. So in life, if you don't know what you want, this is the time to explore. This is the time to try different things out and see what does speak to you and doesn't speak to you. I think the greatest thing anyone could ever do is say no. If we just looked at our life and started, saying no to the things that we really don't love or don't cause us ecstasy, then just say no and focus on the things that you do or discover. Go try some things out.
I love that you just gave permission for that, because you're right. People get so caught up on that, but it's not like you have the same thing for lunch every day. You don't have the same, like, why do you have to be pigeonholed into one thing? This is all I'm focused on. This is all I'm doing.
Look, and I think this is one of the greatest things I ever heard. And so many people talk about this, but if dreams without commitment are probably the worst torture you could ever give to yourself. So if there's somebody out there and you're listening to this and you think you should be, influencer, you should be some public figure, you should be whatever, but your heart isn't in it and you're not 100% committed, why would you even want that? It's just like torture. Like, it's something that for people who are up to this stuff, like, they can't deny it. We wake up in the morning, we're just like, it breathes us, this thing, our mission. We can't help it. It's just who we are. And so if you're out there and you have a dream and you're not committed to it, then sometimes I ask people, are they really, if they're not committed to it, it's like, why are you torturing yourself with this goal?
Why are they? What do they say?
Sometimes people just have to have a real hard look at themselves and ask what's really important to them and start getting real with themselves.
So a couple of the things that I wanted to ask you, you have, I'm guessing where you're going to go with these answers, because I was going to ask you what drives you, but it sounds like your purpose is what drives you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing that drives me. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I hope everyone's listening to that, because there really is no to-do or handbook or how-to or step guide for how to develop your career and be driven. It's really
it's just like you're either obsessed with a line of work or you're not. I mean, it's just it's everything. I mean, it's not like I don't consider myself a workaholic because for me it doesn't have a negative effect on my life. But I am a workaholic in the standpoint that I don't ever turn it off.
Yeah, you're purposeful and passionate.
Yeah.
So, can you speak into that a little bit? Because so many other things that you do, like Good Morning LaLa Land, you're coaching, you do so many different things. So somebody might look at that and go, well, you just do so many different things. It's not focused. But what would you say to that?
Oh, it is because my expertise on Good Morning LaLa Land is a doctor of divinity. So we bring in truth every day. And we even teach subconscious stuff. And we ask the guests about their truth and their work that they've done. And then in one-on-one clients, I'm dealing with subconscious work and helping them awake to their truth. And then in this new program we're launching, the Soul Society, it's all about, basically our mission is to become the number one spiritual community that's online and offline, bringing truth and helping people live their truth in alignment with universal law and bring their spiritual principles into everything from their personal relationships to becoming a CEO to whatever. So for me, it's all the same thing. And that's the point that I really want. I think that that's my message is not that you don't go to church or something like that, or you don't have a daily spiritual practice for 10 minutes in the morning. Your life is your practice. Your life is your purpose. Your life is breathing and every relationship, every single encounter you have everywhere is the opportunity to live your principles.
Yeah, I love that. And I've witnessed you doing this, and you're right. Your stuff can look like it's very different, but it all really has that same theme and same message. And you still stand for what you stand for.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How do you look at failures now and disappointments now? Knowing what you know.
Well, I don't believe there's such a thing as failure. That's a lie. There's no such thing because there's only growth. So you can't fail. But
so talk into that for a minute, because somebody listening might say, well, what do you mean? My business startup just failed. It's gone. What would you say to that?
Sure. You're not your business. That's not who you are. That's not your identity. We're here to grow and evolve as spiritual beings and learn how to direct energy upon universal law and experience the depths of our soul in form. So whether it be in that business or another one, think about all the things that person learned in developing that business. They learned different skills. They learned platforms online. They learned what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they need to delegate, what kind of a team they probably need. Failure is one of the greatest, lessons because it develops us in ways that we couldn't learn.
That's pretty powerful. So when you look at traditional failures, like I know you said you don't look at things as failures because they're all an opportunity there, but have you had what people would view as a traditional failure in business? Like you have so many amazing ideas and it seems like everything just takes off and is successful for you. Is there anything that someone else would view as like, okay, that didn't work? How do you shift out of that when that happens?
Of course, I've been divorced. I did a lot of buying and fixing up homes in my 20s along when I was doing my spiritual practice. And sometimes I made money, sometimes I lost money, so I don't know, but all of it developed me. So for a business to fail, look, the reality is if you look at a majority of like multi-millionaires, you would probably see that they've had some failures, but that doesn't matter because they kept going and they just learned those lessons. They took them into their next company or whatever.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, but it's nice to know that you're human too, like to hear that. So I'm sure some people listening are like, okay, good. Because it does look, I get what you're saying that you learn from everything, but it does look like you bounce back so easy, but
but this is a consciousness thing. This is like, the old me in my 20s, I would have been a wreck. I would have, been devastated in relationships about, someone not texting me back fast enough. You know what I mean? Like, I was a dramatic, drama queen in so many ways and totally being a victim and looking at, it's poor me and this, and I lost money on this one business thing and all that. But that's like that girl, that woman, she's amazing and she served her purpose, but that's not who I am. And so anyone out there that's feeling like they're, the effect of life, that's when you need to get in and do your core work. Because you're never the effect of anything in this life. You are connected. You are not only just your individual self, you're connected to the collective consciousness and the cosmic consciousness.
So do you find, like, if I were to ask, like, about your inner circle of friends, like who you hang around with, who you spend your time with, do you look for others on this same sort of wavelength or level? Or are you the one sort of leveling people up into this?
Oh, it's a great question. I think it's such an important question. For me, I'm very clear of what my truth is around this. And it is that if I'm around somebody that I feel like I need to coach or that needs me to, like, I have to hold consciousness, like they have a lot of limiting beliefs and I constantly have to hold possibility for them. They're not what I consider my peer. There's somebody that would be my client.
Got it.
They wouldn't be they wouldn't belong in my off time, my time to rejuvenate, my time to hang out with people I love. The only people that belong in my life are people that have already done their work, that literally I don't have to hold the consciousness when I'm with them.
Now, do you have this talk with people or is it just naturally evolve?
No, I would never, no. It's just something that, I unconditionally love everyone and I've learned how to put boundaries. And so I'm going to invest my time with relationships that we level up together.
Yeah. How do you spend your time?
I'm very private. So I'm around so many people. I have so much going on. So I love to just be alone, or I love to have like one or two friends around me. I'm not a big party. I have to go to red carpets all the time. I go to nonprofits, I go to events, and it's for me, I consider that work. And that is a beautiful time. I go very intentionally with purpose. But when it's just me, I want to be around like one or two really good friends, have great conversation, laugh, have a great meal, do whatever, go, do some breath work, go do whatever it is that we're doing. But I'm not a big,
you're looking for that authenticity.
I'm not a hangout kind of a girl.
Yeah. You're looking for the authentic connections.
Yeah, totally.
I love that you said I have to go to red carpet events. A lot of people listening are like, I would love to go to a red carpet.
Yeah, it's totally overrated.
That's so funny. What's your most beneficial daily habit? Do you have one?
Oh, that's such a great question. I mean, meditation for sure has been the number one foundational thing for my entire life. But a lot of people have a hard time with meditation. And I think that people misunderstand what meditation is. They don't have to just quiet their mind all the time. They can do contemplative meditation. They can do...
What does that mean, contemplative meditation?
They can say they are having confusion around an area of their life or whatever, or they have angst about something that happened or whatever it is. They can go in and just basically just ask, what's going on here, and really just look at it within themselves. They can journal while they're doing it, or they can do whatever it is that they need to do.
So how would you define meditation then? Because I would think of it as it's just quieting your mind.
Sure. Meditation is the medium between the lower self and the higher self. It is the yoga. So it is merging of the divided consciousness into the divine consciousness. So it's literally expanding, being listening. Imagine you're in a relationship and all you do is talk all the time and you never listen to your partner. It's not going to work out that well. So meditation is a place to listen to your higher self, to allow that higher consciousness to be heard, be known, and just experienced.
So if you're listening to somebody, or you're talking to somebody right now, or somebody listening right now is saying, I hate meditation and I thought it was bad, I thought it was quieting my mind, where would you tell them to start?
I would start with small doses, and I would put a little hourglass or a little timer on that's like, say, 10 minutes or something.
Okay.
And I would just focus on the breath. So really thinking about inhaling very slowly into the nose and out the mouth, and just becoming aware of the breath and witnessing the thoughts. If they go to other times, different mental pictures of the past or future, just notice it like clouds rolling by, and then bring it back to the breath. And just begin to come back into that presence. And just it's a muscle, right? When you first go to the gym, it's not easy to do all those workouts. But all of a sudden, 2 weeks in, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I ever not have this? This is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And so I think that it just depends on how committed people are. If they're suffering in an area of their life, then guess what? You probably need to meditate. So if you're committed to getting better and healing yourself, then it's not like this is some fluky thing. Like what Elon Musk and all the greatest of greats meditate. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like it's some woo-woo thing. This is scientifically based.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear you talk about that. And you're right. Everybody successful talks about it. And what I think is in the gap for so many people is they get stuck in their own, I don't like to meditate, or I don't like to, I don't have the time. And what they do is they almost do the opposite. So they turn to things like stimulants or like I need more caffeine. I just got to focus more. And they stay in this hustle and bustle of the doing. And they really never get to that level.
Well, the reality is that the universe is going to make you wake up. So you can either do it, it's going to flatten you down. You know what I mean? So you can either be committed to your breakthroughs and to evolving, or the universe is going to basically send you really hard stuff. So trying to break you down for the breakthrough.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter if you don't want to do it, go ahead, but it's going to be tough.
It will level you out.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is, I love listening to you right now. The way that you explain everything is just so basic and simple. The way that you explain things that before, hearing some of what you're saying on different levels, I wasn't registering, but the way you explain it is just so perfect.
I remember one of my mentors, he was like, okay, so something happens in life and you either put a positive or negative meaning on it, and then you instantaneously have a positive or negative experience. Like that's how powerful and that's how basic it is. And the reality is that we're here to develop our consciousness and form. So if you close your eyes right now and you're listening to this, you can go anywhere in consciousness, right? You can go to the past, you can go to the future, you can fly, you can do anything. But now if you open your eyes and you've got to move around this body, it's like a game. We're up to this game of being experiencing ourselves in this, constriction. And it's a game is really what it is. And so you can have a great game or you can have it just depends on what kind of a game you want to play.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. If somebody's listening right now and they are in their own personal rock bottom, so maybe they had a stillborn or their marriage ended or they just lost what they thought was their world, whatever that is, and they're not as evolved as you at this point, what would you tell them to do to start shifting and start leveling up so they can get out of that?
Boy, I think first to just acknowledge themselves and just not resist what emotions they are having, like really just fully feel those emotions without putting meaning around it and just being able to really experience wherever you're at. And then knowing that there are answers. I promise you, there are answers and there's a life beyond your wildest dreams waiting for you. And the extent to which you expand your consciousness is the extent at which you will experience heaven on earth and the extent to which you will really experience the power that you really are.
Wow. That is beautiful. Tell us where people can find you. You have so many places. Where do you want to? First of all, they should be tuning into Good Morning LaLa Land every single day because that's incredible. Tell us about that and then where else they can find you.
Well, they can find me on all Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as Dr. Erin, which is DRERIN .TV. And that's website as well. And I'm launching the Soul Society. And that is, we will be launching that website January 1st, probably, but we're actually taking beta community and things around that, volunteers and ambassadors and stuff around that. Of course, you can tune into Good Morning LaLa Land. Facebook is probably the best place. We're on Roku and Apple TV and all that. But I think the greatest place to reach out is just, you can find me on Instagram, whatever, DM me, and just know that there is a community. There are answers and there's different levels. People can just get involved a little bit or do, major intensives, but that there are answers and it doesn't matter, and just be friends or whatever. But I think it's important to seek out who really speaks to you and just start engaging in that community, asking questions, and the rest will work its way out.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Erin.
Thank you so much for you've touched so many millions of lives. I'm so honored to be here with you and just want to congratulate you on all of your success and helping so many.
Thank you. Thanks for leveling up with us today. Please share this episode if you found it helpful so others can join in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on future shows. And if you would leave me a 5-star review, I appreciate those so much. I read all of them, and it's how I know that I'm giving you information that you find valuable. And come interact with me over on Instagram at Natalie Jill Fit. I read all the direct messages and comments over there. Make it a great day, creating everything from nothing.